I was reading to my kids the other night. We have a rule that if they get their teeth brushed and their goddamn pajamas on by 7:30, I'll read a book. Those are the rules. I'm always glad when they get ready, because I like to read to them. I do. I love reading to my girls. So we read a book the other night. We were reading Tom Sawyer. I'm reading them Tom Sawyer because Mark Twain, great author, and they're 5 and 9 years old. They're young for it, but they catch up to it, and they're fascinated by all the language. He uses big words and beautiful writer. And I picked Tom Sawyer, not Huckleberry Finn, because Tom Sawyer is a nice kid. Goes to school, he goes to church, lives with his aunt. Now, Huckleberry Finn is a dirty little homeless little white trash creep. And the main problem is that he won't stop saying nigger. I mean, 40 times a page. I can't sit on my daughter's bed and just say nigger all night and then put her to sleep. I just ain't gonna do that. Anyway, I'm reading him Tom Sawyer, and it's a real nice book, but then all of a sudden he runs into Huckleberry Finn on the street. And then Tom saw his friend Huck Finn. I'm like, oh, God, okay. All right, let's take it easy here, fellas. Let's just have a nice, quiet conversation here. Let's see how this goes. Huckleberry Finn was carrying a dead cat. It's not a good sign. He's walking around with a dead cat. Tom Sawyer says, what you doing with a dead cat, Huck? Huck Finn says, gonna cure my warts. All right. My kids are fascinated. Who told you could cure warts with a dead cat? Well, Tom Wilson did it. He learned it from Jack Johnson, who learned it from some nigger down the street. Oh, God. All right, girls, listen. Here's the thing. America... People would say this word, and it's not a good word, and I don't know why. I'm sounding like Bill Cosby right now. But people used to say this word, and this is not a nice word to say. And so we remember. I told the girls, you know, these boys are racists. These boys are racists, and they're not nice boys. I think we can still enjoy the stories about the fishing and the trading, and it's weird, man. There's a, you know, that's part of our history, and we have to know it's there. And how do you cope with in your past that's bad? Like, how do you try to feel like a good country when you've done things as an entire nation? How do you take your past and still feel good? You know, like when I was 8 years old, I showed my penis to a girl with Down syndrome that lived down the street. And I gotta walk around living with that every day. I gotta wake up as that guy. I was 8. If I did it yesterday, it would be considered a lot worse. But I'm still the dude that did that. I was just a kid, but this is still the penis that I showed to the girl with Down syndrome by the dumpster behind Kentucky Fried Chicken. That happened. Those were my values at 8 years old. And I know that's an awkward thing to equate to slavery in America, but it's kind of the same thing. Because that happened here. We used to let kings take over for their fathers. That's the craziest rule that ever existed. That if the king dies, they let his kid be the king. What are the odds that he's not going to be a piece of shit? How do you let that... That's one of the weirdest things that we've ever done as a race of people. I mean, all of us. White people, and I mean, there were black kings too. African countries. There's never been a black king of England. That's never gonna happen. That is one color line that's never gonna get... Don't even hope, man. It ain't gonna happen. There's not gonna be a black king of England.
I mean, after all that white that's been pumped into their blood for years, they've just been this kind of jizzy white color for all these generations. Purpley. They're all, every British royal looks like cock meat. That's what their faces look like, an Irish penis. That's what they look like. Someone took an Irishman's penis and stretched it out and drew a face on it with Sharpie. That's what they look like.
I can't smoke pot because it's the same thing. I'm too old for it. Sometimes young people come up to me after shows. Hey, do you want to smoke some pot? I'm like, can I get my portion to smoke without you alone later? Because I don't want to stand in a parking lot with some 20-year-olds. Last time I got high, I was in Kansas City, and I got high because I was in Kansas City. So after the show, so these kids that worked at the club, they're like, you want to smoke some pot? I'm like, yes. So I'm standing in a parking lot with these kids, like 20 years old, and we're smoking a joint. And I'm taking huge hits because I had no idea. I didn't know they'd been working on this shit like it's the cure for cancer. I didn't understand the technology that's gone into making pot so powerful. Because when I was a kid, you could just smoke a joint for a while. Now you take 2 hits and you go insane. It's not doable anymore. And I was taking big hits, like big 1970s jean jacket, Bad Company hits. Here come the jesters, 1, 2, 3. It's all part of my fantasy. And I'm like, yeah. And even the kid with the wooden hole of no ear, the absence of flesh in his ear with wood, I don't know what that is. Even he was like, "That you should be careful, that's a lot of pot. That's very strong marijuana." Yeah, I'm fine. Running with the devil, just and in about 10 seconds, everything just and I'm like, oh, this is an ordeal now. I'm not gonna feel okay for a very long time. And everybody's just standing around and talking, and I'm hoping, like I'm really hoping that I look like this. But I'm pretty sure that I was just scanning insanely. I was actually counting, like, look at her for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Switch to him. 5, 4, 3, 2. Randomize. Don't go in the same direction. 5, 4, 3. Nod your head. That looks like you're listening if you nod your head. Ha ha ha. And at one point I realized I need to get out of here because the air is hitting my arm weirdly and they can tell. They totally know that I'm not handling the way air is touching my arm right now. Why am I doing that with my hand? That's weird to do that with your hand. Nobody stands like this. Nobody stands like this. Just no, that's also, that's weird too. That's crazy. Just, shit. I gotta go. But I didn't know how to leave because I had this dilemma. We're all standing in a perfect circle facing each other. And I thought it's gonna be insane if I just turn I'm one person with my back now. Do I just back away like this and hope that they fill in? And then I thought, no, say something. Say something out loud to them that smooths the transition of you leaving. Okay, what do I say? Pick a thing to say. Goodbye. That's a nightmare. That's just goodbye. That's not even, that's just noises. Finally I walked away and I said, I'm leaving! And I know it was that bad because they all went, oh, okay, all right. Whoa. Like, I'll never see those people again as long as I live. And then I had to get in a car. I forgot that I had rented a car, and I have to drive back to the hotel. And I'm driving on this highway in Missouri. And at one point I realized, I think it's been about 25 minutes since I looked out the front window of this car. I've just been dealing with directly in. Shit.
I love America. I love it here. It's not what it used to be. It's kind of a, you know, me and my wife and kids, we live in upstate New York, and it's one of these areas where we're in a suburb of Walmart, basically, you know. It's just Walmart and Walgreens and Rent-A-Center. Do you know what Rent-A-Center is? Do you know what goes on in a Rent-A-Center? People go to Rent-A-Center to rent like a chair. Or a couch. How is your very life that you need to rent a lamp for $40 a month? And then you go broke and you gotta go, honey, they're gonna take the lamp today. Because we didn't pay the lamp rent. So I go to Walgreens. I just kept going. And Walgreens is depressing because it's a drugstore, but they sell whatever. I go in there, they're selling sweatpants. Right when you walk in, a big rack of sweatpants. It's a drugstore, but they're like, somebody brought them sweatpants, they said, fuck it, they'll buy them, but just put them out, it's fine. Right next to the sweatpants, vodka. Big plastic squirt top jugs of vodka. How depressing is that? Sweatpants and vodka. That's a whole identity right there. You could buy those two things and just go be that guy in the parking lot of the Walgreens. You know that dude in the sweatpants and no shirt just laying there? His belly's the color of the pavement. He's like a chameleon. He's been sleeping there so long. You know those bums that smell amazing? Like you kind of can't help fantasizing about really smelling them on purpose. I don't know if you do that, but when you smell a bum and you're like, what if I just really dug in there on purpose and wow, like did he change me or? And I go to Walgreens and they're selling, you know, I'm going to the back of the pharmacy too, and the pharmacy's the most depressing place in the world. People in Walgreens are just milling around in flip-flops and hitting their kids in the toy aisle, like beating their kids in front of toys. And then they go and buy medication and they don't have insurance. They think they have insurance and they way don't. And every moment, it's like a hidden camera joke on all these people. It happens, it breaks my heart. They come up, they have a prescription. They're really happy because there's a solution to their problem in their hands. The doctor said, take that, you'll be fine. So they give it to the pharmacist and he goes, yeah, it's gonna be $40,000 for that. And the guy, like, what? But I have insurance. Now we called, they said, fuck you. No. And then the guy always gives him like chewed up gum with hair in it and says, take this is what you get. This is your... And they always ask, is this as good as the other one? No, of course not. The other would have cured you completely. And we got shitloads of it too. But none for you, you poor faggot. Go home and die. I'm not raising my kids religiously because I don't feel like it. Just get up on a Sunday, f*** that. That. Let your souls rot, kids. I don't care. I'm not getting... Daddy, who... But my kids, you know, they're living in the world, and there's a lot of religion in the world, so you do have to teach your kids, if you're not raising them religiously, you do have to teach them about religion, you know? I always tell my kids the same thing. I tell them that there are many religions in the world, and they're all equal, but the Christians are the main one.
That's what I tell them. The Christians won. They're the winners. So act accordingly. Congratulate Christians when you meet them. Because they won the world. And it's true. It's true. We love to tell ourselves like every religion is exactly... No, they're not. The Christians won everything a long time ago. If you don't believe me, let me ask you a question. What year is it? I mean, come on. What year is it according to the entire human race? And why? What year is it? Anybody, sir, just yell out the year. Thank you. 2016. No, it's 20. That's right. It's 2017. What is that? That's a important number because we're counting to it in unison as a species. For thousands of years, we've been going 1, 2, 3. Come on, everybody. 4. And now, come on, Africa. 5, 6. What is this number? We're counting the days since what? Since there was ever people, or since the sun did a something? Not at all. It's been 2017 years since what? Anybody, yell it out. Yes, Christ! Christ! That's right. It's been 2017 years since Christ Jesus. We are counting the days since Jesus together. Which makes sense if you're Christian, but what the f*** are the rest of us doing? Jesus was here. Everybody, scientists, historians. Jesus. Jesus. Jesus plus 2. Jesus plus 3. Jesus plus 4. Jesus plus 2017 years, 4 months, and 3 days is when your license expires. How is that not a win for the Christians? How is that not a complete win? That's not a Monday off in October. That's there was no time before Jesus. And the whole world's like, okay, sure. And then somebody was like, what about the years before him? There were billions, I mean, infinity. Those go backwards. You want us to measure most of history backwards? To accommodate one religion? Uh-huh. All right, we'll do it. It's fine. We'll do it. You watch New Year's Eve around the world. They always show you like how every country celebrates. It's kind of cool. There's one little island. It's the first place that's actually the place that it's the year. It's a little island in the Pacific. I don't forget what it's called, but the people, they do a little ceremony for New Year's Eve every year, and they just wear grass because they don't even have sticks yet. They're in the grass age. They have no clocks, but they do a dance. 2017. And it goes around the world. Oh, it's a 2017. Death to all Christians in 2017. The Jews are quietly keeping track. It's really 5,766, but that's for us. We're just, that's okay. We're just keeping track for when you snap out of it. It's all right. I'll write yours on my check. I don't want a problem. What about Chinese New Year? Yeah, what about Chinese?
All right. Next time you're doing your taxes, just write monkey where the year goes. Just put monkey. See what happens to your funds. No, it's 2017, year of our Lord. Jesus-y a clock on the nose. And they made it up. That's the weirdest part, is they got to rename years that had already taken place. Because you know that's not what those years were. You know that, right? That the year 3 wasn't the year 3 during the year 3. Nobody was walking around back then. Hey, what year is it? It's 3. Yeah, but I'm 28. How can I be 28? There's only been 3. Well, see, you were born in BC 24, and there's a 0. Remember it went backwards? Oh, shit, that was stressful. I hated those years. What was that like? What year is it? 10. So I don't know what to tell my kids.
Right under her breast.
Yeah.
And Katie Couric actually had to cover her mouth and go, oh my God.
She had to cover her mouth. Yeah, they came back and she was in shock. It was wonderful. Just love it. And they had to go away.
We're always the only interesting things that really happened. It's like I got to see the Yankees win the World Series in '95, whatever, the first year of that dynasty.
Yeah.
I was at the game. But the thing I remember is the guys that ran out on the field, like 3 different guys ran out on the field. I just love people that run on the field. I just think that's the greatest kind of person in the world, because the dude had a good enough seat to be right on the wall.
Yeah.
And you know he was without a shirt, saying, like, I'm going out there. And his friends are like, you're stupid.
Dude, I'm doing it.
I'm doing it. And the look on their face, dude. Once they make the commitment and they're on the infield, like looking at Derek Jeter, and he's looking at him like, you idiot. But
you are so going to jail.
Like, yeah. And the media tries to be, we don't show it.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh,
yeah, the
wow,
camera goes away. We're not going to show this as a man on the field. We don't want to
condone this type of behavior, so we're not
everyone
showing
wants
the video.
to see it.
And then the cops have to make an example of him, so they hit him really hard. Drag him off. I just love that guy. I love that moment in anyone's life.
The takedown is fantastic.
I'm missing the rest of the game. I'm spending the night in jail. I'm going to get hurt. I don't care.
I hate that they've taken that.
I'm on the one guy slid into home plate.
Yeah.
With no shirt on in October.
I hate they've taken that out of the sporting events, man. When your team wins it all, whatever championship it is, and you get to run on the field. That doesn't happen anymore.
No, that was
that
the
used
best
to be
part.
the greatest thing ever.
Like Chris Chambliss when he hit the game-winning home run.
And he couldn't even get to home plate.
No, and they have this one picture of him where one fan is trying to take his helmet off of his head
while he's running.
He's just going, forget the game. I want that help. Give me your.
What about the one Wade Boggs? He's on the horse backwards, and everyone is out of the stands, and he's got champagne and
on a cop's horse.
A cop's horse backwards, and the fans are all over the field. I mean, you miss those moments.
It used to be part.
When you just would see the sea of people just coming over the wall.
Yeah,
and they would destroy the place.
Movies about it. They'll shoot it that way.
Yeah, like they're allowed to.
But now your team wins and everyone has their bang sticks or whatever in the stands. Who cares?
Well, like a half hour before the game is over, they put a line of police on horseback. They surround the whole field.
Right.
You're not jumping out in front of that.
And you have your noisemakers.
You'd have to be how drunk do you have to be to jump into a horse?
You used to come to the game with a jar because you know you're taking some of the field home with you.
Yep.
All right, let's.
It's a scene from Louis C.K.'s new series. Louie, so who is the comic who is explaining what the word faggot means?
That's Rick Chrome. And Rick is a comedian, lives in New York City. And he's just this guy who I met. I started in Boston when I was about 18 years old doing stand-up. And in Boston, you didn't meet a lot of openly gay people. Usually when people said, I'm gay, the next thing they would say is, ouch. You know, people, it wasn't a very giving place that way. And when I moved to New York City, he's probably the first openly gay person I ever met, I think. It's possible. I don't know. But definitely the first gay comedian I met. Anyway, Rick, when I met him, I had that conversation with him about the word faggot. I asked him about it. And he said pretty much that to me. I mean, I wrote, that scene is written, but he
he said it that way, too, that he didn't lecture me or say you shouldn't say it. He just said, hey, if you're interested, it's totally devastating. And he gave me that information. And I never forgot it. I mean, I was about 22. I have said faggot on stage a number of times since then, but I know what I'm saying and I know what it means now.
So I never heard that explanation of the word faggot or flaming faggot before. Is that like etymologically true?
I don't know, and I've actually read things online where people are saying that's not accurate. I don't think it matters. I love that on all sorts of websites and gay blogs and stuff that this scene has sort of like stirred up conversation, which I think is just healthy. And this scene is about a guy who believes that to be the true origin of the word, and it's about his feelings about it and what impact it has on me. If it's not the real explanation of the word faggot, I don't think it matters. The point of the scene isn't to be accurate. It's not a news show. It's exchange between characters.
Do you have poker games like the one in the scene with other comics?
Yeah, not as much as I used to. It's hard for me because everybody's smoking, and I'm 42, and I can't stay up all night and play poker anymore. But that game. There's a guy in the game, Eddie Brill, who's really there because we play poker at his house every Monday. I don't go to that game very often anymore. But that is something comedians do get together sometimes and play poker. Rick and I had that conversation at the Comedy Cellar, and that scene starts with him telling us stories about a gay club, sort of a floating club. Called City Jerks in New York City. And what I love about Rick is that he's very centered in his sexuality. He's very confident. But heterosexual men are very not confident about gay sex. Like when they hear about it, they giggle like little girls. And there's been a lot of times at the Comedy Cellar where he'll tell stories about gay gatherings, and all the hetero comedians who think they're so tough just turn into little children and they shriek. And they are, really? Is it really like that? What's it like? And he just says, well, it's like this. And it's funny because, gay men they're put through sort of a crucible, and I'm going to speak, I'm just taking liberty in saying this. Gay men have to go through something to own who they are. They get beat up, they get ostracized, whatever they go through. If they survive it, they come out very confident people. They come out having been tested and having to really figure out who they are to get through it, because I think that's how you get through any kind of a test, is by really finding your strengths and believing in yourself. So a lot of gay people who are still standing and still strong, that's who they are. Heterosexual men have never been put through that test. We don't get – nobody goes, oh, my God, you like women, and you don't have to defend it for your whole life. So we're not so sure about our sexuality. I think that's one reason why heterosexual men attack gay people or are afraid of them, because they're now confident and they've gone through this. But we don't know who we are sexually. We're a mess. So I think that's why the two sides of the sexual barrier is such an interesting it's such an interesting conflict.
The poker scene was scripted as far as once we start really talking about gay sex and asking those questions. And also the thing of all the stuff, most of the stuff of me talking about packing into his mother's ass it's about a half scripted, a half. But once we shot the scene it was a really long day because we shot the scene once like scripted, and then I gave everybody a shot at screwing around and improvising, and then we all started getting a little punchy, and everybody started saying funny shit about wearing flip-flops and stuff, and then we kept shooting to get that, and then everyone was so warmed up that I was like, guys, can I just have the scene as written all over again on everybody's close-up, and they were like, fuck, and I made them do that. Everybody's happy because the scene came out good, but it was a lot. It was both. We kept shifting from scripted to some improvised. I don't usually do much improvising in this show because we shoot it like cinema. We shoot it, with a lot of coverage, and we pick lenses carefully. So it's a kind of, if you improvise once, you kind of have to. But this scene ended up cutting together nicely because we didn't follow the script, and the camera kept kind of going around in this spiral circle. This kind of the way we shot it in this weird spiral. And I liked that we could catch sometimes in the middle of a move, and some of the dialogue is clipped. I liked that. So that's how we did that one. The gay thing, the poker thing, that was a real conversation I had with that comedian years ago. And I thought I should tell that story on stage. But then I thought, I'm not going to stand there and tell that story. It was his story, and I actually got him to, that's the real guy. He's just a comedian from here in New York. So that was one thing where I thought about it on stage first and then thought I'd shoot it.
And it goes back to that poker scene you did, which Jim Norton's in and all the guys, where you guys are just busting each other's balls.
Yeah, it starts as just, and also because it was early in the season, I liked that people would be, I mean, I'm aware of where people, the context of an episode now, from having done, Lucky Louie taught me a lot as far as like just coming on TV all of a sudden.
Sure.
And what that means. So I knew people would be like, they'd start watching the poker scene thinking, oh, okay, so we're going to once in a while see Louie and his buddies playing poker. This is an introduction. And they banter and they make gay jokes because that's just what fellas are like. And then the show, that episode just stumbles into this up territory, and then all of a sudden you're not laughing, and you're watching this guy talk about this thing, and then I make a joke in the middle of it, which is really inappropriate, and so it's no, wait a minute, am I supposed to be laughing at this or not?
Right.
And then it goes away. The episode isn't even about that, and we never saw that group of guys again.
I hate you. I'll tell you why. Because you just explained what I thought. Like, okay, the poker.
Yeah, but hate's not the way to deal with it.
No, I hate Louie. But I thought you were going to keep going back. That would be a central thing of your show. Right. Absolutely. I bought into that. Like, okay, they're going to be doing poker every once in a while.
Right.
To just kind of have a little fun and beat each
never
other
again.
up. And it never happened again. You surprised me with that.
We might in season 2 have another poker game. I don't know.
Right.
I don't know.
But you didn't have to go there again.
No, it didn't have to. And again,
other shows would have. Other shows would have.
Every show would have.
Well, there was some lines that was
every show would have done it. Definitely.
You should have done something like we were playing cards and someone should have said liquor in the front, poker in the back, and just give you a little finger like that.
A little finger on the side.
Yeah, a little joke.
That would have been good. Maybe we'll come back and do that. No, and we didn't come back to it, and other shows would have been pressured by a network to. We love the poker,
Please
guys.
do more poker, right?
Let's hear.
Yeah, that's
what Eddie Brill has to say this week. Maybe he gets sad.
Yeah.
Oh, they would.
And not only would they do poker, but every episode, every poker scene would start with guys razzing each other and then getting serious. It would have happened over and over.
Same exact way. Oh, right. God, they just know how to unfunny it up.
There was originally a second scene to the poker thing, and we shot it and I didn't use it, which is that at the end, it was going to be kind of bookends, and at the end of the episode, I'm on stage, because I used to do the bits about the word faggot, cunt, and nigger. Like, that was my chunk of inappropriate words bits that I did then.
Inappropriate?
Yeah, a little bit.
Oh.
A little bit. And so I do the poker thing to address the word faggot, and then you see me on stage doing my bit about nigger and the people saying N-word instead of nigger and that stuff. And then Hannibal Buress, who's in the poker scene, the black comedian, comes up to me and goes, hey, man, you know, I see you banished faggot from your act, but you got nigger going strong. What's up with that? And I'm like, well, I don't mean it that way. He's like, yeah, no, I get it, but, you know, I hear Rick say all this stuff. Do I have to now explain to you what nigger means? Is that, you know... And I'm like, geez, come on, man. And he's like, I'm just saying, if you're going to say nigger, say faggot. I mean, it's not fair. So we actually, we actually shot it and then didn't use it because the sound was and just didn't
really?
Yeah, otherwise I probably would have kept it.
How great that the network lets you say nigger and faggot, though, is in the right context. It's just great that they don't bother you.
Well,
nice.
The standards person at FX is really smart, and she calls me whenever we, you know, that poker scene was much dirtier at one point.
Really?
And John Landgraf, the FX president, called me and said that he loved the scene and that he wanted to put it early in the run so that it would get reviewed and it would be part of what people would notice about the show. He said, but it's too dirty. He said, if you want to keep it as dirty as it is, we have to bury it like 12 episodes deep.
Wow.
Because it was so just cum, every other word, cum, cock up the ass, come. And he said if you can tone it down in just the amount of times you use those words, then and he said, but it's totally your choice. He said, I think it's worth it because then that episode will get, that's a weighty scene and it's worth doing. So I went through it to see if I could cut it down without hurting it. And I cut out like this part where I go, where I say, how come you have to wear shoes at the club? And Rick says, because the floor gets full of cum. And Nick DiPaolo goes, all right, we get it. And so I manufactured a cutoff where Rick goes, well, the floor gets full of, all right. And he cuts him off and doesn't let him say it.
Right.
I manufactured that in the editing, and I realized, you know what, this is actually making the scene better.
Sure.
That Nick gets nervous enough about the stuff that stops it from being said.
Yeah.
And I used that way of cutting it down. I didn't have to cut out as much as I thought I would. And I showed it to Landgraf, and he said we can do that. And I'm so glad we did, because that episode partly is the reason the show got notoriety.
And that scene's gone viral for you.
Yeah, and there's this website for gay people called AfterElton.com. It's a very big gay website, and they called me up. This guy called me up and said, "Well, I don't understand how this scene talking about gay people came from a straight guy." He's like, and he wanted to know how a straight person ends up with this point of view. Oh, maybe I'm gay. I don't know. I haven't sucked a dick yet. Yeah, but hey, if I'm a closet gay, let me find out soon. I'm almost 50. Now, get it out in the open so I can start taking advantage. But how awesome would that be? To all of a sudden, open your horizons. But
at 50, you can just go.
To go, oh my God!
Why not?
There's twice as many people I can fuck.
Why not?
I did think consciously about how the show's in a world where people watch stuff and they go, holy shit, and then they virally watch it. And it gets posted on Huffington Post or whatever, all these things. So the first season, I always made YouTube clips. Every episode, I would make a YouTube clip of what I thought would be the really talkable scene.
Yeah.
Like the second episode of the show,
it was the poker scene, right?
That was the first one. That before the episode was done airing, I got it up on YouTube right away because I knew that folks would be intrigued by that and want to talk about it. And the next day, it's all over all kinds of sites, and they have my YouTube clip to go to as a reference. They have, look at this. This is what happened here. This is what I think about it. And so it was fun with the show to go like, let's do stuff that intrigues folks that way. And also because the show was in capsules and it's in pieces, I could do something like that. The poker scene, nobody in that scene is in any more scenes of that episode. It's just one scene.
Yeah.
And there it was. People saw it, and that thing never stops coming back to me. That poker scene, it really, yeah, it just always keeps regenerating. And then,
anyway, so now I'm married, and sex is very different when you're married because it doesn't exist. Actually, I was talking to a friend of mine about how my wife and I don't really anymore, and he said, "Well, does she blow you at least? What are you high? You think she's blowing me?" Who wants to blow their husband? Who the would want to? What a bummer to blow your husband. You don't want to blow your husband. You want to blow your date. That's who you want to blow. You want to blow a guy you've been dating and you don't quite know him yet. He comes over and he picks you up. Ooh, that's a new shirt. I never saw that shirt on him. It's very handsome. You go to dinner. He's like, here, try this. Oh, new things. I like new things. Tells you something funny, makes you laugh. Oh, he shouldn't say that, but it's shouldn't so. Tells you a sad story. Oh my God. You go back to his place, you his cock and you go home. That's the proper context for a blowjob. Nobody wants to blow a guy and then go to IKEA with him all day. That's not fun. Do his laundry and then he comes out of the bathroom. All right, you my dick, okay? We my dick right now? Yes, I'm dying to your smelly old disgust for the 1,000th time. I can't wait. My wife gave me a hand job the other day, and I got to tell you that I think that hand job was probably the saddest thing that ever happened in America. It really was the saddest thing. That hand job was so tragic. There should be like a monument to that hand job with a reflecting pool where you just sit and think, God, that was sad, and a little thing where you put rocks on it and think about it, and you know. Here's what happened. I'm going to tell you about this hand job. My wife and I were home in the middle of the day. The baby was asleep on our bed. The 4-year-old is wherever the she goes all day. And my wife and I are sitting on the couch, just sitting there, just married on the couch, you know, just. And my wife looked at me, and I don't know where she got this sort of sense that I was in. She said something like, "Hey, we have to go to that thing for the," and I was like, "Oh, who gives a shit?" Like, I don't know what it was that tipped her off that I was starting to feel real bad. Here's the thing: is that as far as sex, for guys, it's just not. We just need to release. That's all it is. We just need it. Women, it's like a fucking emotional thing when we need to come just because we need to. Women, it's like they get into it, they shiver, and then they lie on their side and cry after, and all that kind of. But for guys, it's just something that we need to do so that we won't murder people. That's all it is, really. Just maintenance. Open the valve once in a while, please. The city should put a red tag on the that has a PSI level that's unacceptable. And my wife always waits till it's till it's critical. She lets it go so long until finally we're sitting on the couch and she looks at me and we're like, okay, we're gonna all be in the paper tomorrow if I don't do something. So she doesn't want to me, she doesn't want to blow me, so she looks at me and she goes, well, would you like a hand job? And I'm like, yeah, that sounds awesome. So we go upstairs to my daughter's room because it's the only empty room in the house. Hey, you know what? F*** you. I paid a rent. I'll shit on her bed if I want to. Seriously. Let me have a hand job in my house. It's all I get. It's not me. She won't jerk me off in the living room because there's too much nice shit I'm not allowed to come on. That's the whole thing. I don't even get to enjoy my orgasm because the second I'm coming, she's pointing my away from stuff. Ew, oh, careful. She points it into my belly button, like, make it go back in there. Can it go back in? All right, so I'm laying on the floor in my daughter's room looking up at the mobile of ducks and airplanes. What does a duck need with an airplane? What does a baby give a shit? So I'm laying there on the floor, and my wife is just sitting next to me, just in her bathrobe, just like. And weirdly, I'm not getting off on this. The woman grimacing and tugging on my penis dryly while basically reading People magazine at the same time. It's not that I'm not getting off on it. For some, it's taken me a while to come, and she starts getting impatient. She's like, "Come on, come on!" Like yelling, "Come on!" into my seriously. At one point, I wanted her to lick her palm. I got this idea. Maybe if she licks her palm, there will be some semblance of something going on. And so I had to... You got to approach asking for those things carefully. You can't just go, hey, lick your palm, like that, because that'll ruin whatever mood there already isn't. So I go like, hey, maybe lick your palm. Lick your palm. Lick your palm. She's like, what? Lick your palm, lick your palm, lick your palm. She goes, what the f*** are you saying to me? You know what she thought I said? She thought I said, you look like your mom. So now I gotta get that out of my head. I'm trying to like close my eyes and fantasize that she gives a shit. Nothing's working. And finally she goes, hey, I'm getting really tired. So you know what I did? I finally just took her hand in my hand and I just jerked myself off with her hand. She's like, oh, thank you. That's much easier that way. That has to be the lowest form of sex that's even possible. To just be jerking myself off with my tired wife's hand. She might as well be dead at that point. Seriously, she might as well be a corpse. I came home and found her dead, and it, I'm getting one more before I call the police. Just one more. Who's hurting? I'm not hurting nobody. I'll call 911. She's not getting any deader. Cops find DNA on her wrist. She gave him a hand job and then died of shame, I think. I don't know what happened. I don't know. This is a story that takes place. I'm going to tell you the story. It's kind of a messy story. It takes place over a lot of years because it started with my friend Mike, who told me this story. This happened to him back in the 90s. He was going home for Christmas, and he lives in Connecticut. He grew up in Connecticut in some town in Connecticut, and he didn't like going home. He's one of those people. He came from a place, doesn't like it anymore, and he goes back. He doesn't know how to handle his family, you know, and he came from a family of white racists, and he doesn't like going home, but it's still home. So he went home for Christmas one year, and everybody's hanging out during the day, talking, having lunch, and his father and his brother both work at this factory, and his brother's grousing about his day at work, and he goes, yeah, and then this nigger fell asleep with the forklift. And then my friend Mike heard that, and he went, oh, God, why am I part of this people? I hate this. And he felt bad. And then that night, he's in the kitchen, and he's having a warm milk or whatever. And I don't know why that's funny, but what that says about him. Yeah, because he's a No. He's just sort of having some time to himself, and his cousin comes downstairs. Was staying, and his cousin, he likes his cousin. That's the one person he always felt connected with. And his cousin's like, what's wrong, man? And he says, well, geez, I come home, and I hoped that everything would be, you know, normal, but then my brother says, oh, he's about the factory, and this nigger fell asleep with the forklift. And his cousin goes, oh my God, the nigger fell asleep with the forklift? So this is the first part of the story, okay? So Mike tells me that story about how he's just not listened to by anybody in his family. And then later on, I get a job writing on a TV show for Cedric the Entertainer. Great guy. And he had a show, and he hired a writing staff, half white writers, half black writers. So at lunchtime, we talked about race. It was just, we'd have these provocative, interesting conversations, trading notes about race with the white writers and the black writers. And I told that story. I told the whole thing about the guy, nigger the forklift, and then the cousin saying, nigger the forklift. And then one of the writers, a black writer, he goes, there's nothing worse than a nigger falling asleep at the forklift. Making it harder for the rest of us. Still, nobody's quite hearing what my friend was going through. And then, about a year later, I'm hanging out with my friend Dino. Dino's Greek. He has no dog in the race. He doesn't care either way. He's Greek. Greeks aren't white or black. He just got a big nose and he just stands there. I told Dino the whole story. I told him about the guy, the forklift, and and then the black, and then Dino says, how do you fall asleep at a forklift? You know, it's a lot of work having kids, especially now, as opposed to the past. Because in the past, you just had your kids and they just did their thing and you did your thing. That's what it was like for me. I'm amazed at that now. Because I have a 5-year-old and an 8-year-old. My oldest daughter is 8 years old. And when I was 8, my mother, she would go to work and I'd go to school. We were like roommates. There was no... She'd just go, see you later. Maybe I'll have a child when I get home from work. I don't know. I would go to school and then I would just wander around town. And I would do weird shit. I used to go to the store and steal tampons. I got on this weird thing where I stole tampons every day. And I never got caught. I mean, the guy probably saw me, but he's like, I'm not confronting the kid who steals tampons. I did a lot of weird shit when I was a kid. I showed my penis to a girl with Down syndrome that lived down the street. I did that. Go ahead and judge me. I was 9. I'm still the guy who did it, but I was a kid. I just really wanted a girl to look at my penis. I wanted to have that moment. And I was too afraid to ask any girls that didn't have Down syndrome. Basically, was the... Because girls in my town scared me. They smoked parliaments and had feathered hair and leather jacket. You fucking queer! They were tough. But she was approachable. I met her behind Kentucky Fried Chicken by a dumpster, and She was just nice. It's a true story. And I asked her, I didn't just go, hey, look at my dick. I asked her, can I show you my penis? And she's like, fine. And I took it out, and we're both standing there, and she's looking at me like, dude, what, you think you're the first person to do this? I've seen every dick in this town. Just put it away. That's what it was like when I was a kid. I mean, not for everybody. Not every single. Oh, sure, we all showed our to people.
Now, it's pretty interesting. It seems like you really wanted to cut out the middleman and create this website. $5, PayPal, stream it. You wrote a thing about please don't torrent this or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't understand that whole world either.
I don't get it. I don't know
What made you say I need to cut out the middleman for this?
Well, I didn't want to cut out the middleman. I just didn't need one. You know what I mean? Like that, to me, cutting one out would be a workaround something you're used to needing.
Right.
But there wasn't any reason to have somebody there. I just thought, make this thing and put it up. I've put things on the internet before, on YouTube and stuff. Once in a while, I put clips on YouTube.
Yeah.
And people watch them, they go viral and stuff. And so I was getting ready to do this special, and it's mine. I mean, I didn't ask for somebody's permission to do it. I just rented the theater, I got the booking at the Beacon.
You paid for everything yourself?
Yeah, I paid for it all. And also, I produced a TV show with no help from anybody. So I just used my company and my employees, and we just, let's get 6 cameras and shoot the show. I've done it before. I did a special that I made myself a couple years ago called Hilarious.
Yep.
And the big idea there was to make it a movie that you go to see in a theater, like old concert films. And so that was something I tried, and it did okay. And then this time I thought...
But when you tried it, you weren't you've gone up a notch in terms of notoriety, I would say.
Yeah,
right?
since I made that, definitely. Yeah, the series has really given me a lot. This is the first special I've done since I've had the series.
Yeah.
And so I thought, and also people don't really see, there's not a good model for stand-up specials right now. There's not a thing like when George Carlin would do an HBO special and it was a big deal. They're on sometimes and nobody really watches them. Nothing draws people to the specials. So I thought, maybe if I put it somewhere unusual, somewhere that people... I actually originally offered it to an online company and said, you can have this, but I don't want you to give it to anybody else. Online is always a dumping ground for stuff that's been on TV or in the movies, and the last place you can see it is online. And I thought it would be kind of cool to say this is whatever, this special. This is a special that goes, you can only see it in this one place. There's not much exclusivity anymore, Everything's on everything. So I thought, what if it was only one place? And they didn't quite get it. So I said, why aren't I doing this? Why don't I just do it and charge $5, which is so close to stealing that it's easy to be honest. And then once I did it, every decision I made me more interested in it. Like, what is the site like? What's it like to buy it? What do you have to do to get it?
How do you get enough bandwidth to carry all the streaming at the same time?
Yeah, we got a huge website. Like the first thing I thought is if it crashes, it's a waste of time. So get a huge website, make it really easy. I wrote all the things that are said on all the buttons and everything. I just made it very personal.
Yeah.
And I told them, I don't want it to be that you pay and then you get an email later and then you feel like you lost the thing. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like you pay for it and then all of a sudden you're gone.
Yeah.
And someday you get an email that says you have to do this. You mustn't use this video here. You can't watch it on your Xbox or all this kind of crazy stuff. So this one is just a simple video. There's no encryption on it.
I like how you charge $5 instead of $4.99.
Yeah, $4.99 is just a lie. It's just unfair. I mean, don't be a dick. Just
everything
say $5.
About it was very upfront. Like even that little letter you wrote on the site, like, hey, people who steal things evilly, please don't do it.
Yeah,
I know you're probably going to.
Exactly. Well, if you live in a rough neighborhood and your lock is broken on your door, you kind of want to look at the people that are hanging out on the sidewalk and just go, do me a favor, just leave me alone. I'm going out to get something to eat.
I know I have a nice
TV. Don't go in and
TV.
steal.
Yeah.
Just don't go in there. And people will be like, oh, okay. I'm sorry. I was actually thinking of doing it.
Well, did it work?
Yeah, it really did. I mean, the thing is selling like crazy. So even if people are stealing it, they're not stealing it enough. It's not like they can actually steal it and then someone goes and it's not there.
Yeah.
Also, people have posted it on torrents, but not many people are taking it. That's where it becomes a problem, is when people are taking it. And
Hey, didn't you had a cool story? Did you ever tell the Martin Sheen story? I love that one.
Martin Sheen. Oh yeah, he was on Conan, and we did a bit with him. And I wrote a bit for Martin Sheen to do on the show, Apocalypse Now throwback bit. And so the publicist actually said he wants to hear the idea before he commits to it.
Makes sense.
So I called him on the set of Gettysburg or some movie he was making, and he was in character. He was talking to me as Robert E. Lee.
Ugh.
In character. But and I've had guys do that before. The thing is that he's talking to me as Robert E. Lee, the general, but he's discussing like what time his flight gets in, like 20th century stuff. Like what's the? Well, sir, I fly into LaGuardia, I believe.
I'll have to leave my sweet Magnolia as I catch a connecting flight.
Through DFW. And get a town call, sir.
Atlanta's burning. Why, I gotta get down there.
And take the space shuttle to...
That's hysterical.
But so then we get it. He's in the dressing room, and I'm trying to talk him into the bit because he said he was going to think about it. So I'm trying to talk him into the bit, and me and the two producers are talking to him, and then this little kid walks by at the door of his dressing room, and he goes, "That was one of God's little miracles that just walked by our door, gentlemen." He's being like the president or something. I don't know what the point of that was.
The West Wing kind of.
Yeah, it was one of God's little miracles. Just walk by our door, gentlemen.
Without any sarcasm.
No.
All right.
And we're
with
like
sarcasm. That's funny.
Yeah, exactly.
It's really funny.
And I'm still just trying to talk him into doing my bits. So I'm like, oh yeah, I know. I love the children.
Well, did the kid have a hanger on his head? Then maybe he's right.
Little hanger hooked lip, like all jerked up. I have two children, and I still think that was a lot of crap.
Yeah.
I still hate him for it.
Yeah. That makes my head itch when I hear that story.
Oh, God. Yes. Miracle? Is it? Really?
Yeah.
What's the miracle?
Both of your drug-taking miracles.
I aimed, I hit it, she came out. Wow.
Ever did the bit?
What? He did the bit. He actually nailed it. Yeah, it was great.
Yeah.
It was just a bit we did called a two-way mirror in the dressing room. We pretended we had two-way mirrors.
Oh, okay.
So we'd catch them doing weird things. And he was shaving, and he cuts himself shaving, and then he goes into the spiral, Apocalypse Now, Saigon dressing room.
Yeah. Some kind of mental illness to push against that, to go on stage and just bomb horribly and then still do it because you love it. You just have some really deep desire to make it work. And actually, it's usually the comedians that start awkwardly and badly who end up being interesting. The guys who, from my experience, when I've seen people show up and from the first day on stage, they're just easy, like really amiable comics who just know how to talk to people. They don't usually end up being that special. They get some quick success, but they don't usually turn into something like really unusual and great.
Do you remember your first open mic night? Was that how you started? Yeah.
Oh yeah, I'll never forget that.
Can you tell us about it?
Well, I got this. I found out that you could do open. There was an open mic night at a club in Boston where I started called Stitches, and I was actually like 17, almost 18 years old, and I thought, geez, you can go on stage. They said you do 5 minutes. You just put your name in a hat and you get on stage. You can be anybody. That was so exciting to me. So I went to this club Stitches, which is very grown up. They didn't even want to let me in because I was underage, and they have a drinking, a liquor license. And then I went on stage and I did about 2 minutes because I didn't have enough material. Like I sputtered, my whole throat constricted, and I heard this roaring in my ears. My eyes were watering. My heart was pounding, and I couldn't control myself. I couldn't think straight, and all these adults, like drinking adults, were looking at me like I'm an idiot. And I just walked off stage to kind of confused, like, little applause. And I just felt like a pile of garbage. And then I kept doing it.
Okay, so you did really terribly on stage.
Yeah.
What made you think, I need to do more of this. I want to get back on there?
Well, I didn't do it for a little while, and then at the time I was working at a video rental store in Newton, Massachusetts, where I grew up. And Kevin Meaney, who was a very big star in the Boston comedy scene back then, Boston had a very strong local scene. And I knew who Kevin was. I heard him on the radio and stuff. And Kevin was a customer at the store I went to, that I worked at. And I told him that I had done an open mic. And he said, oh, well, you got to come on my show. He had a show that was a huge, him and Steve Sweeney, these two great comics. They had this show where they would, they'd pack the room and put on all the best comics in Boston. And he said, come be on my show. And I said, well, no, I'd need to practice, do more shows to get good enough. And he said, no, I won't let you go on my show unless you go on now. He said, it's interesting because you don't know what you're, like, it's comedy tragedy. He kind of wanted me to go on and bomb. And so I went again into Stitches, and it was a Wednesday night. It was Sweeney Meanie night. It was jam-packed. And I went on, and I think the audience, people's mouths were open. They were shocked at how bad I was. Just shocked. And I got off stage, and Kevin wouldn't look me in the eye, and nobody would. And it was just the most pulverizing humiliation. It was much worse than the first time, because it was a really, the first time was an open mic night. The premise of the show is that most of us don't know what we're doing. But this was a professional comedy show. And I went on it and just flailed. I mean, it was a nightmare.
So was Kevin Meaney cutting you a break or being really cruel and putting you on after that?
That's open to interpretation. I don't know. I mean, he must have known how bad it was going to hurt me. But to me, I think he was giving me a break. It was up to me to make it into something. Who knows? Maybe I could have. Maybe I was funny. He hadn't seen me. Do you know what I mean? So he was giving me a chance. He was letting – it's interesting when somebody becomes an agent in your life for a minute. You know what I mean? And they go, well, let's see what happens if you do this now. It was a formative experience. Sitting here now, I'm very glad I had it. It was
Why?
A great, great thing. Because it gave me a really realistic, shocking picture of what I was facing. That show that I did and that audience and that night, that was still the terrain that I work at today. I think if you're just looking for easy ways or you're looking for victories through life, I don't think you're really getting much out of it. I think you have to, if you really know how hard stuff is, and despite that you extract some tools out of yourself, it's better for you. And the next time I went on stage, I was very wary.
So what was the first time when you felt like you started to understand who you were on stage and like what your onstage personality was going to be? What your, persona, if I could use that word, was going to be. Like what the stage version of you was going to be.
The first time I went on stage, I did kind of offbeat and weird jokes just because I thought that you might as well try being more like what makes you laugh. I did really well. My third time on stage, I had really big laughs. And other comedians came up to me and said, hey, you're funny. You got something. And I was so excited that I had a little foot in the door that this is something I could maybe do. And I thought it's me being kind of weird the way I am in real life. I like to say things that don't make a whole lot of sense or surprise people a little bit. But then I got seduced by getting big laughs. And then I just started doing, once you get laughs, you're like, oh, I'll do anything for that feeling. That feels really good. So then you start thinking it's just jokes.
So the first time you were on stage and started doing jokes where the comics were coming up to you and saying that was good, you've got something. What were you doing? What is it that you were doing on stage that they had a positive reaction to you?
I was doing more kind of contemplative, weird jokes. I don't think I did things that were self-reflective. I did things that were just like, well, one of the bits was about street signs that I thought they should be punctuated because I got confused by them. Like signs like, no, you turn, drive slow, children, that kind of thing. It was just taking these street signs and reimagining them. And that was an offbeat, funny, silly bit. And it made people laugh. And that's the only one I remember from then now.
When did you start talking about yourself, being self-reflective as you described it?
I think when I don't know, once I was in my 20s, I had grown up so much on the road because I started doing stand-up so young. I didn't go to college. So my formative years were being on the road, which meant I had a lot of embarrassing sexual stories because I didn't have a girlfriend all those years because I was on the road. I was traveling everywhere. And also I was doing a very unusual thing. I was doing stand-up when most people my age were in college. So I was an odd fit with everybody around me. You know, so I started telling stories that were like confessional about strange sexual situations I'd been in. I think that's when I started to enjoy confessing and putting myself out there. But then, but I also talked about things like, you know, the absurdity of being poor and trying to have money in the bank and stuff like that. So it was about life in general. I think it's when I was married and had children that I started to really talk about my own life and what my life felt like.
But before you realized how being a father would give you material for your comedy, did you think, okay, I'm going to be a father and now it's over for me? No more independence, no more easy life on the road, the door slamming shut?
Well, there's always a give and take. I was glad to let go of some of that. The road really sucks when it's all you have. It's really sad. It's very lonely out there. So I was happy to be in a family and be married and everything. And, you know, when I first got married and had kids, I thought, you know, I had some friends I played poker with on Mondays, and I thought the poker game on Mondays that's the water line. Like, if I don't make that game, I'm losing something. I'm losing something if I don't make it to that game. It means I'm letting go of my youth, I'm letting go of my manhood, all these things, my independence. But then after a while I realized, why would I want to go play poker with a bunch of guys in a smoky room when I could be at home with my family? And I realized that a lot of the things that my kid was taking away from me, she was freeing me of. A lot of things that men hang on to when they're younger, they're not good for you. And that there was this huge pride in having a kid, and also that I didn't matter anymore. The greatest thing about having a child is putting yourself second in your own life. It's a massive gift to be able to say that you're not the most important person to yourself.
Why is that a good thing?
Because you'll always, I don't know, because that's always going to let you down. You know what I mean? The idea of, I've got to get me right. I've got to get what I want. That's got to be right. That's never going to quite work. You know, life just isn't that satisfying. But if you can be useful to somebody else, that you can actually accomplish. You know what I mean? You can go, I did a pretty damn good job today as a dad. Pretty good. Best as I could. That's worth so much more. You know, I saw a movie once where Spencer Tracy catches this woman about to kill herself. It's a pretty dark movie for the time, but I forget the name of the movie. But Spencer Tracy's on a boat, and he sees a rich young girl about to throw herself off the boat because her fiancé left her for another woman. And he's trying to talk her out of suicide. And he says to her, do you have a job? Do you have anything that you do in your life? Which was a funny thing to ask because she's like a 1920s, you know, she's like a socialite. And she said, no. And he said, I think you should get a job because it's very hard to be sad and useful at the same time. And ever since I saw that, I keep that in my head. If you can be useful, which means to somebody else, not to yourself, if you can be useful, it just makes you feel better. So I live in service of my kids, you know, for that's the first priority. And then things like my career, they feed into that. They're part of that because I'm providing for them. But also, it's just not that important. If something's not important, it's more fun. It's more something you can look at from objectively instead of having it be this albatross around you. I've got to get this right.
I think it's a compact humans have always made, we want to be able to laugh about stuff that's upsetting us. It's part of it. And then everybody gets upset sometimes, and they all go, how could we make such jokes? This is a terrible thing. But in the end, we always choose the humor. That's why comedy's always stayed in there. Once in a while, everybody says, this is wrong to talk about these things, and you shouldn't joke about bad things or hurting things. And we all clang a bell because that's part of the process. And I accept that. That's okay that people do that because it's part of it. You say that to yourself once in a while because it lets you off the hook. I tweeted to everybody that I thought that joke was inappropriate. And then later you can laugh at a joke that's inappropriate. You know, I mean, that way you get to have both ways.
But are there places you will not go?
Only if it's not funny or if it's boring.
But that's it.
Yeah, or somebody else has been there heavily. Then I won't go there usually because it's boring. Yeah, it's only if it's boring. But I don't. I remember saying one time that saying that a joke is too awful, saying that something is too terrible to joke about, is like saying that a disease is too terrible to try to cure it. I mean, that's what you do with awful things. You joke about them. That's how you get through it. It's how you survive life.
It's the only way you can talk.
Yeah. So to say that's so terrible, I can't joke about it. That's totally counterintuitive to me. It's like, if it's that awful, you better start joking about it, because that's how human beings get through it.